A lot of you have seen those videos on channels that talk about firearms where they test different types of firearms and they review firearms, and then they might take some Tannerite and put it into a box of some kind and from a long distance in a safe manner shoot at it, and it blows that box up. Some pretty remarkable explosions and people even putting it into vehicles. There's a pretty popular video that gets around that I don't know when exactly it was made, but some guy apparently put some Tannerite into a refrigerator and from like about 100 yards away shoots it, and then the refrigerator door blasts off, and thank God the guy was standing behind a tree, or else that refrigerator door would have taken him out. But regardless, Tannerite is something some of you are familiar with. Those of you who aren't, it's a chemical composition that if you shoot it, it has a pretty large explosion, and some are looking to regulate that further at the Illinois State House. So if you are plugged in, then you'll be able to see some of the ways that we're going to follow this is looking at ilga.gov. That's the Illinois legislature's website where they go and have all their bills filed and committee hearings and whatnot. And we're looking at Senate Bill 754, and this is from State Senator Julie Morrison. It is now in the Illinois House and assigned to the Judiciary Committee for the House, where they've actually got a hearing set for April 25th. So that's tomorrow at 4 p.m. So we'll have to revisit this conversation as this bill is halfway through the process of getting onto the governor's desk. So it originally started as a bill about regulation, just amending the Illinois Banking Act, but they amended it to replace everything and amend the firearm owner identification cards to deal with Tannerite. So we'll hear now from when this passed the Senate and the debate had on the Senate floor between State Senator Julie Morrison. You'll also hear State Senator Neil Anderson going back and forth about Tannerite and what exactly this amendment to a bill that ultimately passed the Illinois Senate has to do with access to this product.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill provides that only federally licensed firearm dealers can offer for sale prepackaged explosive components. These are products that the firearm dealer will keep a record of the sale of. It prohibits the sale of prepackaged explosive components to any individual without a FOID card. Happy to answer questions.
Is there any discussion? Senator Anderson.
To the bill.
To the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. As we discussed in committee, this bill really doesn't accomplish anything, and here's why. So Tannerite that we're talking about within this bill is made up of two different compounds. One is ammonium nitrate, which is fertilizer. The other is a little packet of aluminum powder. So as of right now, the aluminum powder, you open up the canister, the aluminum powder's in a little package, you pour it in there, you mix it, and then you have to shoot it with a projectile that's at least 2,000 feet per second. Okay? I'm telling you right now, if the manufacturer starts seeing the drop in sales, all they're going to do is they're going to remove that little packet and they're going to sell it separately. This is not going to do anything. I appreciate the intent, but this is not the way to go. I request a no vote. Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, Senator Morrison to close.
Thank you, Mr. President. This legislation is important to me because after the 4th of July shooting in Highland Park, law enforcement found large quantities of Tannerite in the shooter's home, and he disclosed to law enforcement that he had intentions of using this as bombs throughout the parade route. The Illinois State Rifle Association, the Illinois State Police, and retail merchants are all neutral on this legislation. I ask for your yes vote.
And the question is, shall Senate Bill 754 pass? All those in favor vote aye. Opposed, nay. The voting is open. Have all voted who wish? Have all voted who wish? Have all voted who wish? Take the record on that question. There are 39 voting yea, 16 voting nay, none voting present. And Senate Bill 754, having received the required constitutional majority, is declared passed.
So, again, that measure ultimately passing the Illinois Senate, and very little debate on the Senate floor, just really with State Senator Neil Anderson talking about the chemical composition and how the manufacturers might just separate those two components, allowing for sales to continue. But what's fascinating here is also what the law does, or what the bill does. It's not law yet, but what the bill does is it essentially says that you have to have a firearm owner identification card to purchase Tannerite, and you also, as the seller, have to track those sales so that anybody who buys Tannerite is going to be on a list somewhere. So interesting to hear that that's what they want to do, is to make Tannerite one of the products that you have to have a firearm owner identification card in order to buy and possess. So the sponsor, Julie Morrison, she highlights how the suspect in the Highland Park shooting from July 4th, Independence Day last year, he had apparently reportedly had some ideas of placing Tannerites around the parade route and using that as bombs of sorts to cause even more havoc and chaos and potentially death and injuries. But what's interesting is the Highland Park shooter had a FOID card. He had a FOID card. So he still would have been able to have purchased this even with Julie Morrison's law if it was in place. Again, it's still a bill. It's still got to go through the process in the House with a hearing that's set tomorrow afternoon on this bill. But still something to highlight how, sometimes lawmakers, they use certain events as justifications, but then you dig deeper into those events and you realize, well, the suspect in this case had a firearm owner identification card, and even if Morrison's bill was law, he would have still been able to get his hands on that Tannerite. Now, of course, he would have been on a list, but, he obviously is somebody who had ill intentions, allegedly, and killed 7 people and injured dozens in that mass shooting in Highland Park. So, the justification for this measure being questioned by gun rights groups who say that even if this was law, the suspect at the Highland Park shooting still would have been able to purchase this. It doesn't necessarily get to the crux of, again, looking at the individual rather than looking at the items or the tools. It's the individual with ill intentions, not the law-abiding gun owners that may use Tannerite for various target practice and various other types of recreation and sorts. So watch that closely. Again, it's a measure that's in the Illinois House, and they've got a hearing on April 25th. That's tomorrow. Whether or not this comes up, we shall see, but this measure is second on that list, with State Representative Bob Morgan supporting that and carrying that through. Now, of course, you can always take part in different types of witness slips that you can do if you go to the website my.ilga.gov. Again, my.ilga.gov. You can see the upcoming committee hearings and even look at, for instance, for the week, you've got tomorrow the let's go down to the Judiciary Committee, which is right here. Then you could see the legislation that's being proposed by clicking on the hearing dates, and then you've got the bill, and you can even go in and click in and view witness slips and post witness slips. And we'll take a look at the view witness slips here, where you've got 3 proponents and 461 opponents as of right now. So we'll be monitoring that as this particular bill moves through the Illinois State House. It is Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop. Follow along each and every weekday morning from 6 to 9. You can like, subscribe, check me out on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, obviously, or catch us at WMAY.com and listen there, or on the WMAY mobile